I'm Steve Vibronics, and this is the Life in Dub podcast, talking to people who live their lives in dub and reggae. Episode number 1. Welcome to the first ever Life in Dub podcast, a new series of in-depth interviews with people who have lived their lives in dub and reggae. My name is Steve Vibronics, and every 2 weeks I'll be inviting a different guest onto the show to talk about their experiences of living a life in music. I'll be talking to artists, producers, sound system operators, promoters, the whole range of people that make up this amazing scene that we love so much. You'll also be hearing a little bit about my life in dub and reggae, some of what I get up to in the studio, and some tales of my travels. Please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and visit the podcast website, www.lifeindub.com. And feel free to email me at vibronics@gmail.com with any comments or suggestions for the show. So why did I start this podcast? I've always loved hearing about the people behind the music and learning about their lives. I'd hosted a few public interviews at the United Nations of Dub Weekend up in North Wales a few years ago. Some of you might have even been there. And I've been thinking about doing some more. And on my long walk to the studio the last couple of years, I developed a real love for podcasts. And even in a world where there seem to be hundreds of new podcasts starting all the time, there really wasn't anything that dealt with the sound system dub and reggae scene that I really love. So I decided to start Life in Dub. And here we are at episode number 1. But enough of me, because this podcast is all about the guests. So let's get on with the show. My first guest is Keety Roots. Keety is a musician, vocalist, producer, record label owner. I've been a big fan of his music since the 1990s, so it was a great honour to visit him in his East London studio. So, without further ado, let's get on with the interview. So, Keety Roots, welcome to the Life in Dub podcast.
How you doing, man? It's all good.
Yeah. So here we are in East London. You call it East London?
Yeah, East London, yeah.
My dad was brought up like literally 2 streets away.
Right. Oh, from here?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
okay.
Full East Ham connection.
Original Cockney.
That's it. Exactly.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is just have a bit of a chat about life and growing up and music and everything like that. But what I want to do is I want to ask each guest like a couple of the same questions. And one of the questions I want to ask every guest is, can you name a song that you listen to that song and after that there was no going back, and it can be something you heard last week, something you heard years ago, but one that you heard and from when you heard that everything changed, and like tell me something about that if you can.
Well, for me it was one of the most profound songs I've ever heard is I'm a Levi, Ijaman Levi, I remember when Shaka played it in a dance. I don't remember where I heard it, but I remember
you heard it on the sound system.
Yeah. This tune's got this kind of spiritual energy about it, And Ijaman is a very spiritual writer and singer, very much, And that song, it I don't know, it hit me. It just hit me, and it's just always been with me,
It's got the lyrics and the music.
Yeah, it's everything about the song. It's a very spiritual. I think the song's about his spiritual journey and who he is in place and time where he was at the time when he wrote it, spiritually, and it connected with me.
And in terms of you hearing it, so where were you when you heard it then?
Where I was actually I was brought up in a Pentecostal church, my mom's a devout Christian, you know what I'm saying, and so from I came out of the womb, you might as well say I was transported straight into church, you know what I mean? So I grew up with that church vibes, you know what I mean? As a child, trying every excuse not to go, you know what I mean? But reaching my teens, I grew to sort of like going to church and getting in touch with my spirituality, you know what I mean? And so with roots music, that's what sort of connected me to roots music in a sense, because that same spiritual energy is there, you know what I'm saying? The biblical content in the lyrics and stuff, That's what connected with me. You know what I'm saying?
There's no roots reggae without that like Caribbean, like churchical.
No,
kind of
because that's the culture for us. You know what I'm saying? Church is a massive part of Caribbean culture. You know what I mean?
So if we look at growing up,
African
you're talking
culture.
about like growing up. So you're born here in UK.
Yeah, I was born here in the UK, in Yorkshire. I'm a Yorkshireman. Born in a place called Lower Houses in Huddersfield, you know? It's a little hill. There's a little hill. If anyone goes to Huddersfield, there's a castle on a hill. You know, you just look, there's a little hill and there's a castle up there. That's where I was brought up.
And Huddersfield's got its own history of reggae.
Yeah, it's a very rich reggae little town, you know. It's they had a club called Cleopatra, you know, on a road called Venn Street. Some people call it Venn Street, you know. But that club hosted some of the best sounds in the world, you know what I mean? Some of the biggest dancers. A little town like Huddersfield, but it was a massive club, you know what I mean?
You were going to dances in Huddersfield, or had you moved to London by then?
Not when I came to London, age of 11. So I was still a kid, you know what I'm saying? I was the age of climbing trees and running around the fields and stuff, you know what I mean? That was my childhood. But I came to London at 11, so my musical journey really started when I came to London.
And what about music? What kind of music do you remember hearing when you were growing up, and like anything that you made sort of some connection with? Or
okay, well, growing up, you know, my dad used to play blue beat, like Elvis Presley, Jim Reeves, you know, like the Stylistics, Motown stuff, you know what I mean? That was the kind of stuff that I was hearing, you know? My journey into reggae music now was my big brother. Because my big brother now, he's about 4 years my senior, and he started collecting records very early. He started from he was like 10, 11 years of age, you know what I mean? And yeah, he used to...
So you're hearing it in the house? You're hearing it
in the house as a child. Like, I'd say from sort of 6 years of age, you know what I'm saying? I'm hearing reggae music because my brother's bringing, you know, he's bringing it. And the good thing about him, you know, he would always explain. He'd put me sit down and explain to me what he just bought this record, what the record is, and the whole vibe of the record, you know.
Because when you say you bought a record, that's like some golden age of reggae as well.
It really was.
It was really happening then.
Yeah, because weekend time, it was just a journey to the record shop. And the whole thing, for me, was like, I used to sit there and I understood it, even at a young age. And I was anticipating, what's he going to bring back? You know what I'm saying? Because he'd always bring the records back and explain the whole journey, you know, that he just went on. And then he finally got this record and he came on with it. So it became exciting to me, you know. Every time he left to go record shop, it was exciting. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they say it's like a gold. There was so much amazing music.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And it was all new and fresh as well.
It was so fresh. And like I said, for me, it was amazing. I remember he bought Rastaman Vibration. That's maybe the first LP that I sat and listened to. I must have been about, I don't know, I probably was about 8 or something. But Rastaman Vibration LP, like from the sleeve to the music, it was amazing. You know?
And can you say there's a point where you kind of realised that like music was something special for you, and maybe more important to you than some people around you, for instance?
As I grew older, you know, there are different social issues that start affecting you, innit? You know what I mean? I mean, for me, like, racial issues were affecting me from I was a little child, from I started school, telling the truth. You know what I mean? I was getting abused racially and stuff like that.
Growing up in Huddersfield, that must have been a trip.
So it grew me up fast. It made me understand that, you know, life is not just as we see, but there are other elements, hatred and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I learned that early. So that's the thing. When I started listening to the records, you know, that energy of protest and some singing of liberation and stuff like that, I got it. I got it. And, you know, some records talking about burn Babylon and the vibes of Babylon, like the wicked, corrupt, you know what I'm saying?
And there were like big releases then as well, because like Massive. It's not like now, whereas in those days they were like sort of, I wouldn't say commercial, but they had a lot of success, and you know, it was a big thing then. I
think that the vibes was that vinyl record thing, innit? You know, music was a lot more special then, because music was always something that you could hold in your hand, innit? Do you know what I'm saying? You connected with it physically as well as spiritually or whatever.
Yeah, you had to kind of go on a journey to get it, didn't you? It wasn't
and
just
that's
like
the thing.
you
It
just
was
get for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole thing of like you couldn't really hear reggae music on the radio and stuff like that, innit? So the record shop was the order of the day, literally. You know what I'm saying? Like the record shop was your education into it and everything. Then sound systems, you know what I mean? It was.
And you're talking like local record shop. Like,
because
you're not travelling far to the shop.
No, because there was always a local record shop, but then there was always local sounds, so it all connected. You know, you go to parties, blues parties, you know, little shabeams. There's always a little shabeam around the corner where you had little different sounds playing. And I think everybody's education into the whole thing was through the sound systems. And then obviously what you hear, you'd go and look for in the record shops in the week. So, yeah, that's the thing. It was all more organic and connecting and social, you know. It was more of a, now, you know, people just go online and click a button and, you know what I mean? But the record shop was like a little social gathering.
But also, I guess my kind of interpretation of it is it was a bigger scene then as well. There was more people into it.
Well,
and amongst young people as well.
I think place and time is what I have to say. It's place and time, generation. You know what I mean? And, you know, I mean, I'm plus 50 there. You know what I mean? I ain't even saying what number plus. But at that time, we were the youth of the day. You know what I'm saying? And the format of the day was vinyl records. It was trendy. It was everything, innit? I mean, in the 70s, all music was recorded professionally, you could say. There was no bedroom studios and...
Yeah, there was
no computers.
What do they call it? Like sort of not even project studio. There's another name, pre-project studio.
Yeah, even pre-project.
Consumer or whatever.
There was none of that. I mean, everything was done professionally, innit? So, you know, the music scene was, you could say, a lot bigger then as well. You know what I'm saying? But then it was place and time, as I say. You know, with reggae music was young.
So when it comes to music, because we're sitting here in your studio, which is like, you know, I've been listening to music that's come out of your studio for like, you know, I guess 30 years now. Mm-hmm. Why did you get into the studio? What was all that about? Because it's not for everyone.
No, it's not for everyone. I think it's a kind of thing you're called to do, in a sense. You know, you're called to do. If you're someone that's been doing over spanning decades, then it's something that you're called to do, because it's not.
And do you remember when you first went to a studio and what it was like? Yeah.
What I can do is explain how I got into it, and then I'll explain that. As I said, first Shaka dance was when I was 14. There's a club called Cubies in Dalston. Yeah. I followed my brother and his brethren. You know what I mean? My brother was always telling me for all these years about Shaka, you know. But I felt like the time was right now. I felt like I could, you know, play a trick on my parents and sneak out. I felt I could get away with it, you know. So I'd done that one night, you know, and I went to Cubies Dalston. Shaka was playing. Quaker City was supposed to play with him. Quaker didn't turn up that night. And I'm glad, because the music Shaka played.
Shaka on his own.
My word, I mean, it was profound. Something that I'd never experienced in my life. It was something new, fresh to me, you know what I mean? Very spiritually
uplifting. What kind of age were
uplifting.
you then?
I was 14. I was 14 then. I should have been in my bed, to tell the truth. But I mean, it was a liberating experience for me, you know? Like I said, I was a biblical youth already. And the way Shaka played is very spiritual kind of vibe. And it was just amazing. It changed my life, really, because that defined me from then. It was just like, yeah, this is me. This is my direction.
But how do you go for that? That's like your love of music. But how do you go from that into wanting to get into the studio?
Okay, right. There was a brethren of mine called Jaleni. He was an avid Shaka follower. You know what I mean? From Ilford side. We used to live in a place called Manor Park. And Lenny lived in Ilford. Literally, you had to pass Manor Park to go anywhere, basically, from Ilford. So anyway, you know, we used to link up and go to Shaka dances, basically. And one day, Lenny, he came around with this guitar, bass guitar, had 3 strings on it. That's the first time I realized he was a musician. And so he explained to me, yeah, this is what he does for fun and stuff. He's a multi-instrumentalist. And he he played the guitar, man, to one of Shaka's records, and it just blew my mind. I thought to myself, you can do that? Yeah.
I think before that, music is just something other people do.
Yeah, that's right. I never connected it with myself. No. I didn't even like music in school, funny enough. I used to bunk music lessons, you know. But when I saw him play that guitar, the bass to one of Shaka's tunes, man, it's something in me just said, you can do that. You know what I mean? So I just started practicing, and that's how I practice. I would just play along to records and stuff, you know what I mean? And it was all natural progression from there, because from there, I would link up with Lenny, you know, go down his yada yada. He had all these instruments, man. They had drums, everything. And so we just jam for hours on end, you know, we would just jam. We'd jam. And it just grew.
And it is hours, isn't it? Because especially when you're young,
hours
it's like
end.
the amount of time you can spend just jamming.
Yeah,
and just kind of...
the time when we stopped is when, you know, your parents are coming and saying, stop the noise now. It's over. You go home. You know what I mean? It's one of them things. That's when you put down the tools. You know what I mean? But beautiful days, and you know, we just play. And like I said, the curiosity for different instruments started to grow. You know what I mean? From that, I started attending jam sessions. The good thing in East London, you had these really good jam sessions where once a week or twice a week sometimes, musicians would gather in the youth centres, and we had
the same kind of thing in Leicester. And you get some like top musicians.
Oh man, some great,
like a drummer with a drum kit, and it's like I can actually play with a drummer.
Some real great people used to pass through these jam sessions, you know, and that's how we learned, because you know, you just and some real nice guys, you know, they'll teach as well. You know what I mean? If they see that you had, you know, you sounded promising, they give you a hand. You know what I mean? So from attending the jam sessions and learning to play different instruments in the jam sessions, it was only natural progression for me to want to start recording. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're listening to the records, I guess, and probably thinking like, how are these made?
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember I saw, and I don't remember the year, but there was a program called Rock School. Dennis Bovel was on it.
Yeah. Well, I think Sly and Robbie were on there at one point.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, and
yeah, I don't remember what year that was. I can't remember the year, but yeah, early 80s it was. But Bovel was, you know, he was showing how you bill a rhythm, you know, one man bill a rhythm in a studio, you know. And I think he played I think he actually played the bass first, you know. Yeah. Free by Mice, it was dum, 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 ba-dum. Yeah. And man, that was a profound thing. He just played the bass and then he just
there's the drums. When you see it happen in front of you, that's when it's right. That's how they do it.
That's
it kind of penny drops.
It just stuck in my mind. Like, he done it so well, you know. He just built the whole rhythm, and then dub mix time, you know. And that just stuck in my mind. And I thought, yeah. So from there, it was just natural progression from there. Just, you know, where do I get the gear from?
Do you remember going into a studio and seeing like some recording?
Yeah. My first recording session was with my brethren Lenny and a few other guys. And we booked a studio. Them days, Nearest Joseph was kind of
the vocalist.
Yeah, he was the big guy around. He was with Fashion Records, and he was always coming back and showing us what work he'd been doing with fashion and stuff, you know what I mean? Like the recording business, you know? So we was always curious about this whole fashion business and
he
the
came
recording
back with
studio.
Stories of, and was he working with Gussie P then?
Yeah,
maybe?
That's right, yeah. But Nearest was part of the jam sessions, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was a big part of me learning to play drums as well.
People they think the musicians on the records, they live in another world.
Yeah, but
there's a connection right through.
There's a connection.
You jam, people living next door. And
so we're hearing about the recording business going on, like, you know what I'm saying? And so me and my brethren, we booked this studio in Woolwich at the time, I remember. 8-track studio. It was a half-inch 8-track reel they had up there. I don't remember the disc. But we booked it, and we went up there, 10 o'clock in the morning, you know, till 6. We had 8 hours. And we there, set up and everything. Where's the drummer? 12 o'clock comes, no drummer. Drummer didn't turn up.
Meanwhile, the meter's running and the clock's ticking.
Yeah, the clock's ticking, mate. And so, you know, Lenny knew a bit about drums, you know what I mean? So we just made good at the time, man. But that drummer, he didn't know he done us all a favor, to tell the truth, because it just opened our mind, you know what I mean? And we got some recording done that day. And that was a real profound time for me. It was the first time.
Do you remember what it was? Because I remember when I was young going in the studio and I was playing in like a band. And I could tell it meant more to me than everyone else.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated by like, this is how you make records.
Yeah. It wasn't the recording process that time with the studio, because I was just more a player. I just love to play bass. Any reason to play my bass guitar, you know what I mean? So anyway, we got that recording done, you know what I mean? And it wasn't really that well, to the truth, but we got it done. We moved on from there. The recording thing, like I said, I just started to collect gear. My mate Lenny, he was collecting gear from time. He had a little mixing console.
Because it wasn't easy getting the knowledge back then.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't. It was not like now. You just look it up.
But he showed me. He had this little 4-track machine. You know what I mean? So there was a shop called Nottingham Music Exchange. I think most of us will know that shop, man. That shop was heaven. You know what I mean? When I found that shop,
secondhand music
everything
equipment
kicked off from there, man. Because now I could get all the gear. You know what I mean? So I went Nottingham, picked up this big yellow mixing desk, man. Don't remember the name of it. Big massive knobs on it, you know. Yeah, it was about 12 channels, and that's where sort of my recording started, because I never had any sort of multi-track. Then I just had this boogie box tape recorder thing, so I'd just be doing overdubs,
like mono to mono.
Yeah, mono overdub stuff. Yeah, it was so noisy, but it wasn't even about that. It was just about actually achieving that multi-track recording. You know what I'm saying? So them days, I'd have my drum machine. Sometimes I play the drum kit, and then I just record that, and then just overdub, just live overdubs. You know what I mean? You know. And it just grew from there. Things got better. I got a 4-track, TAC 4-track, 1/4-inch machine. And
once you get 4-track, you can plug it into your desk, and then you can start dubbing. And
that's when it all started. From there, really. That's when my sound got good. I got the Grampian. Is it 6? Lee Perry Grampian reverb. Yeah, I got one of them from Nottingham, and H&H Echo, and that's when Keety Roots started churning out dubs from there, man.
So Keety Roots becomes, you've got a bit of confidence, and you've started to build some rhythms and stuff, and it's like my first sort of connection with what you're doing is Black Legacy label and buying African Blood on the 12-inch, and just playing it every day. Because it was like, it's a great track because it's so catchy, well, but this lyrical content is extremely deep, but also like the bass and the rhythm, everything about it is kind of, it's just a great release. And I remember buying that and playing it a lot, and that I probably bought that like early 90s. So at some point, I guess you made a transition from messing around to into this.
I got serious because I was really serious about the whole thing. You know, I was trying to build a band them days, and it was just getting people to be as serious as, finding people that was as serious as I was. You know what I'm saying? That's how I really started recording, because I just couldn't get people to turn up and spend the time. You know what I mean? So I started finding ways of how I could do it myself. To fast track, the first drum I actually created a drum with two mics. One on the floor, and that was my kick, and another one on a chair. That was my snare, you know? And so I put a plastic bag on the table, and that was my hi-hat, you know? But it actually worked. It was a bit crazy, but it actually worked. I mean, I got a sound out of it.
It's a sound.
Yeah, I created a sound, and I actually created a drum that I could now play the bass to. You know what I mean? And that was just...
That's like mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, at that time, that was everything for me, you know? But, you know, obviously, you know, you get a job, innit? Your time comes, you get a reasonable job where you get a reasonable pay, and then all your money just goes into gear, basically. You know what I'm saying?
That's it, because in those early days, it's like, I mean, it's hard. even if you do it like full time and everything, it's hard to like earn enough money to live off. But in those days when you're starting out, no one's earning a penny.
No, it was difficult. But funny enough, I always had reasonable jobs, as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I had reasonable jobs. And the good thing, this is where real black culture kicks in. We used to have a thing called partner. This is a sort of tradition from the Caribbean where people get together and put money into a pot. Every week, somebody takes the content of that pot, and everybody gets their turn. That's sort of a Caribbean culture, And I was always part of these things, That enabled me to get the money to buy gear.
This is through the church.
No, that's not church. It's just a cultural thing, a general cultural community thing, Caribbean community thing, where everybody knows they're struggling, they need to get ahead. So it was like a community bank, you could call it. Yeah, in actual fact, what is credit union now started with this Caribbean partner thing. That's what grew to credit union. So there's a bit of history there, but it was a profound thing because it enabled families to move forward,
And somebody must have put you forward, or you put yourself forward.
Yeah, my parents.
This is a talented youth. And
well, no, it wasn't that. At that time, with this whole music thing, nobody understood what I was doing. I was just making noise.
When are you going to get a proper job?
You know what I mean? It was like, well, I always had to work. I mean, in our household, there wasn't you're not working and you're sitting down all day long. That just weren't happening. My dad, get up, go find a job, mate. You know what I mean? So we all worked. It just the order of the day to go and work. There was no dole. You couldn't talk about dole and stuff. What's that? Go and get a job. So, for me to do music, it meant all night recording and then take my sleepy self and go to work. But there was no, you're not going to work. So the ethics of that was good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which helped me because I was able to sustain myself in some way financially with the little money that I was earning.
And it's a bit of a test of like, how serious are you? Because everyone loves music when they're young.
Yeah.
But there's only a few people that really want to stay up all night and then
that's
jeopardize their day.
That's why I said earlier, it's a calling. Like, it's something that you're called to do, because there are many people that fall by the wayside, as time goes on. And for me, many times I've been left on my own, like with brethrens, they've gone off and done all other types of stuff, you know what I mean? Got involved in family life and just settled into that and just work, home, family, and that's a beautiful thing for them. So for me, my time was going into recording and
that's the words, time as well.
It's time.
You can't do it in 5 minutes.
No, it's a lifetime thing. It's a liberty thing because it becomes your reality. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was my reality, literally. Like, I was consumed with it. It was something that I had to do. And sometimes didn't know what progression was for tomorrow, but I knew that I was gonna. You know what I'm saying? I was gonna learn by the day, by the month, by the year, and just get better.
It's like determination, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them things. And that's why I knew I was called to do it.
And because sometimes with these things, it's only when you look back and you think, well, actually, I was quite determined. Because at the time, you're just doing it. It's like, I just love music and I want to do it.
Because all my brethren, they got money to go out and rave and stuff like that. I didn't. Half the time, I didn't have any money. All my money's gone into gear. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have the money for flash clothes and stuff like that. The flash clothes money was in gear. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't have had it any other way because it's something I loved. You know what I mean?
And it's, there's always expensive gear to get. And we were just talking earlier on about all this amazing gear and you're obviously upgrading the studio. But especially back then, it was more expensive.
Well, in actual fact, but there was some... Remember, we're talking about the times when stuff was just being created. So I'm talking about a time when the synths were just being created. When I started, there was no M1 or W30 or anything like that. They weren't made yet. You know what I'm saying? It was all... First of all, it was Hammond, the organs and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Organic stuff, man.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. But as time goes on, we're talking about the 80s. That's when multi-effects machines were starting to get created and stuff like that. So we were there when it was all getting created. Drum machines just started to be made. Do you know what I mean? Overheim just turned up with the sequential drum tracks and stuff. The DX 8-bit machines and stuff. They just turned up late 80s, you could say.
So you've started to get your head around the music, and so when did that music first start being unleashed on the public?
All right, we're gonna put it like that now. When my music started to take real form, is like I said, I was on 4-track. I can't remember the drum machine I had at the time, but I was doing some 4-track stuff. My quality was getting better and better. I linked up with Tenastalin, the great Tenastalin, you know?
Yeah, great vocalist.
Amazing vocalist, singer-songwriter, you know? Arguably the best writer, you know, from UK, you know? And I met him somewhere around the mid-80s. Yeah, and he started voicing on my tunes. And that's when my music really started to sound like something there, you know what I mean? Because it just, it's a full thing.
When you got a voice like that on you realise it's like,
inspired me.
Oh, okay, I can see how my music was like part of it, and now it's been taken to a new level.
It's taken to a new level now.
And it's sounding like...
Because it's sounding like a record now.
That's the one.
And so that now, you know what I'm saying? It grew me with my engineering skills and everything, because I had to get better at engineering to get it to sound right. You know what I mean? To get the music to incorporate the vocals properly. You know what I mean? So, you know, I started learning from the tunes we've been voiced on. I really started to learn a lot. That's when things really started to move. And from that now, sound systems started to be connected. At that point, I was linking up with a studio called Vibe Studio in Leighton, a brethren called Blacker. Blacker was doing the same thing as me. He came from the same sort of direction, you know, where back in the day we were doing this little thing, and, you know, just with the old jobs with the tape recorders, you know. So alongside my journey, he was there doing it as well, you know. And so, but he moved on. He moved on, and he created this recording studio, you know, with, I think it was a Soundcraft 800B desk he had at the time. And yeah, man, at that time he had a beautiful studio. So we used to go up there, and that's when we started connecting with sound systems, you know. So
this is when people are hearing, because I remember when I started, I didn't ever think it was ready enough to pass on to the sound. So I always wanted it played on the sound system.
You never really know.
Like,
you don't know. You're not sure. You're not sure. Yeah, that's the thing. But you see, with Vibe Studio now, he started offering at the studio commercially. So one of the clients was Jawara, Steve. You know what I mean? And Steve would come down and buy some of the dubs. You know what I mean? Like, buy some of the dubs that we were doing. And that's how I knew that.
Those things give you confidence.
Yeah,
when someone else says, like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. But at the same, well, not forgetting my big brother, one thing about him, ever supportive of me, man. And he was always cutting my dub plates, funny enough.
Is this for his own sound?
Yeah. He had, he didn't have a sound then. He used to have a sound called Bushman back in the day, you know what I mean? But Bushman sound was this is the inception of me and sound system, Bushman. But at that time, I wasn't doing any production. I was kind of 16, 17, and I wasn't doing any production stuff then, yet. I was playing, but not recording. And that's where my sound system connection come from. I was a youth man in that sound there, you know what I mean? Coming up in the ranks, you know, from lifting box to wiring box to one day picking up the mic, you know what I mean? But my brother, he was cutting the little stuff I was doing on the cassettes there. He went and cut a few of them, man. You know what I mean? And that's really when I started thinking, well, maybe they do sound all right, you know? You know what I mean?
So at some point,
you know what I'm saying?
You made like a transition to your first release was on Black Legacy on your own label, or someone else put something out?
No, it was on the Vibes, the same studio Vibes recording there, where, let me not fast track too far. I'm going to try and
tell the whole story.
Get the whole story. When Steve Jawara, they were called Humble Lion them days. It wasn't Jawara, it was Humble Lion. When he came, he'd be buying some of the dubs, and I started building dubs for him as well. That's what, so these things sort of fine-tuned me as a musician, because now I was doing multi-track sessions, playing the drums, bass, gits and keys. You know what I mean? You know, and he would come, and you'd hum a bass line, blah, 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 you know? Steve's vibe.
And then you're going to the sessions and hearing them being played.
Yeah,
well.
and then he'd go play them, man. And
that's
then,
a big thing. That was a massive thing for me, just to hear my own rhythms on the sound system.
I started hearing the stuff.
And then you start, also the engineer thing kicks in of like, I need to make the kick more like this. And
because you see, Steve had sound system now. He had built a sound. You know what I mean? So he wasn't wasting none of the dubs. Like anything he cut, go and play that. So, you know.
And he was playing all the other sounds, wasn't he?
Yeah. He was quite busy. He was out there doing his thing. But he had the one-away dubs, you know, that me and Blacker was doing. You know? And man.
He still got them,
sessions were good. You know the truth of the matter, mate? I think only Steve's got these things right. I know he's sold off some of them, but he's got some of the history, man. He really has. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a guy that loved it, man. He's just a passionate guy.
Yeah, definitely. You know? Especially when I started my label, my Scoops label, he really helped me a lot and introduced me to some people and linked me up with some artists and stuff. So yeah,
we used to be shocked. This white guy turns up, and you could see the seriousness in him. He just like was onward going with it, you know. So anyway, the first real sort of dub plates, good quality, was being sold out of Black Legacy, Trinity.
You like Gloucester?
Yep, Trinity. Milton. Yeah, Milton and Terry Gadd, you know. There were some militant guys, you know.
They used to come up and play in Leicester, and they'd always had like the energy.
Yeah, and they loved my dubs. I mean, they were one of the first sounds that played Keety Roots dubs. You know what I mean? You know? Even before it was called Black Legacy. They had some of my tunes, you know what I mean? In Tebby as well. The early days, I'm talking about in Tebby sound. You know, they used to come down and get dubs. And as you said, it was going to them dances and listening, charging my batteries with this thing, man. Maybe you understand, maybe I am relevant, you know? Maybe I can do it. Maybe people...
It's like confidence, because you start... I mean, I know I started from like zero confidence.
Yeah.
And it's like when these little stages along the way, they help build it up. And then...
It really did. When I heard these guys playing the dubs, that's when it really dawned on me, you can do it. Yeah, and people actually like what you do, you know? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so like I said, everything, we're all relevant. Everyone that passes through your life in one stage or the other is relevant to your growth. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. Because even like, you know, because you're a bit like me, you spend a lot of time on your own in the studio and build stuff. And like, a lot of producers build stuff on their own. But even the people who are making the music on their own, there's a whole load of people around them. Nothing happens in isolation.
No, that's the thing. In your isolated state in the studio, but there's all this real support around you, really. And if you stop to think sometimes, I mean, like, you know, in hindsight, when we think now, you know, we're grateful for all these people that were there, you know what I mean? Because, you know, when you finally reach a stage where you thought you'd done something that was good enough to present to someone, there was someone there to present it to, isn't it?
Yeah, and also I think it's like,
you know,
it's people buy your record and think, Keety Roots, I love this tune, this is wicked. But it's like to make that jump to being the tune being released.
Yes.
Quite a lot of helping hands along the way.
Yeah, there is. You know, there's a lot of support. Like I said, you know, it would take me all day long to tell the full story. You know what I mean? Like, talking about my parents who had all the patience in the world with me. You know what I mean? Like my dad, he dug out, we had this basement and he went and dug out the whole foundation of the thing and concreted it and gave me some space to go down there and do my nonsense, because it was sometimes
was that because you were driving him crazy in the house?
Not just that, but he knew, you know, he wasn't a man that talked much, but what I got to understand, he knew that I was serious about it. So rather than him telling me to stop the noise, he went and done that. That was love, because he knew this boy ain't going to stop this thing. It's something he wants to do. Let me give him the space to do
it. Exactly, he's given the space to do it. Because that's what stops a lot of people is time to do it, but also somewhere to do it.
Because at times I spent many times being guilty because I'm making all this noise. I'm looking, oh no, everyone's in the front of the car, listen to the TV. Like, I'm playing this flipping drum kit. You know what I mean? But that basement, it gave me that space, gave me that time. You know, he's passed now. You know, God rest his soul. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
So if we like move things forward a bit to like you starting to release music and what I just wonder because people are going to be interested to hear what it was like setting up a label and how things were maybe a bit different back then as well.
Okay, the Vibe Studio link, Blacker, the engineer and musician, is where this whole thing really starts. Black was a very enterprising guy, you know, very business-minded, very enterprising. You know what I mean? He was a big inspiration for me because he was just a doer. He never talked. Anything he talked, he'd manifest it. You know what I mean? He was deep like that. And he was a young guy. He had an old head, you know? And it inspired me. He this is where it all started. He got a dub plate cutter and started cutting dubs. When nobody had, you know, you got a mono dub cutter at that time. There's only a handful of people had these things, like Tubby's, Music House. And he got one. He had one in his front room, man. You know what I mean?
So that means things start happening.
And things really started happening because the dub plates now, we're building tunes, cutting them on dub, natural progression, release tunes. Because we were linked with Music House as well.
When you can see it, especially in those days when you're cutting things, I mean, people of course still cut dubs.
Yeah.
You know, they cut both our music on the dubstep, but when you see it happen there and then, that's kind of a record as well.
It's like, thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a record. And we were around Music House all the time, people cutting records. So it was obvious, time to cut record.
But it's a whole, because I remember it being just, okay, you can make music, you learn a bit about the studio. Setting up a label is a completely different discipline, isn't it?
Well,
it's a whole new learning curve.
It was, but them days, you know, we were told, just think of a label name, and that's your label now. You know what I mean? Get a logo, and that's your design. It was me, him, and Tenastalin, yeah? And said, yeah, man, we're going to do a record now. This was our first release. The first thing, we had to now decide, what are we going to be called on that record label? We didn't have really defined names like that. I didn't really have that wasn't Keety Roots yet. You know what I mean? You know? I don't even think Tenacity was Tenacity yet. We just had to sort it out then. We had to define who we're going to be on these record labels. You know what I mean? Label.
And that's a jump, isn't it? It's like realising that you're going to become an artist and in public.
It was a defining day. I mean, like, when I look back now, that was a real great day because, you know, I had to look within myself and what represents me, you know. But, you know, my name is Keety, our roots man, you know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I'm all the way, I'm a roots man. So Keety Roots, that's how my name come.
And then that's you make that jump and then you're like, you're in the public realm.
Yeah, and I'm Keety Roots now, you know what I mean? You know, I think that day, Tenastalin was born as well. I think around that time. And he decided that's what represented him. You know what I mean? You know?
And this is what, like late 80s, I guess?
This was sort of mid-80s. I think this was about 86, 87. We done the tune Commercial Boy and Burial Tonight on the B-side. You know what I mean? Or was it the other way around? And that went out on Vibes recording label, which is Blackers. That was Vibes dub cutting studio. Turned to Vibes Records on a vinyl. You know what I mean? And that was our first record, 12-inch, you know?
And then what, because then setting up your own label, because that's like a different entrepreneurial thing altogether,
that's the thing,
isn't it?
I never saw myself, I didn't have aspirations to have a label yet, but it was only going to be natural progression. Because working through Vibes and the whole protocol of how Vibes was working, it was just going to be a matter of time before I, you know, attach it to myself. You know what I mean? And so the time came when I decided, I'm going to put a tune out. I'm going to put out a 7-inch called Warning, Tenastalin on vocals again. I think that was 1989. About 1989. That was.
Has it got like a yellow label? I've got the 7.
Yeah, very strange kind of looking. Blank label.
I bought it from Barber in Leicester, I think.
Yeah. I think, did I get a stamp and just made up a stamp and bang?
What they're like potato stamper kind of things. Yeah. John Ball printing.
Yeah, whatever sort of jobs. And so that was the first official Black Legacy release, you know. Before that was a few releases before that.
And how did you find, what was it like setting a label? Because it's, like I said earlier on, it's a whole new set of like disciplines and like you've got to distribute it. You've got to try and sell it to people and get your money back and put another one out. It
was well, you see, by the time Black Legacy was formed, I was already around the system because I was around the system through Vibes. And then we were always down Music House, and the whole reggae industry was going through there in a sense, you know? You know what I'm saying? It was kind of being channeled through there. So you picked up links. I already knew about Jetstar. You know what I mean? I understood Jetstar already.
There's a network, and you learn who the key
there was
names,
a way.
Fat
There was
Shadow,
an order.
and
it was like, how do you do a record? And someone will come, oh, that's obvious, mate. You go to a studio, you record your tune, you mix it, you go to Music House, it gets mastered, cut onto a lacquer, it will move from there, it will go to School Road in them days, and they will take care of the rest. You go to who's now Sprint, and they will do your labels. And that's the order that everybody followed them days. Yeah, and so it's just a way. So it wasn't really a mystery.
And then those brown boxes arrive full of records.
Yeah, and then the records are there, and they're actually yours. But what do you do with them now? You know what I'm saying? I remember one time I really do remember African Blood, when I first done African Blood. And that was my first. I got brave enough to put myself on the vocals, you know. I wasn't really sure. I wasn't sure how people would connect to it, and you know what I mean. But ABBA was playing on dub by that time. You know what I mean. I hadn't even gone to ABBA yet, and that was another story and a journey. But yeah, African Blood was my first record that I voiced and put out. I wasn't sure. I was apprehensive and I remember I went to a record shop. I took it to a record shop. I just picked it up from it was a pressing plant on the North Circular them days. A guy called Bobsy used to run it. And I just picked up my records. I went to a record shop in Brixton, you know. And I remember the guy said to me, "Who's going to buy that record?" That's what he said. He looked at me in my eye and he said, "Who's going to buy that?"
This is the guy in the shop.
Yeah. He's just behind the counter with his just blasé self. You know what I mean? And I remember pulling out one record and giving it to him. And he just sort of snatched it off of me. And like, as in, like, what's this? And he put it on. And then he's there and he just, probably about 40, 50 seconds, he pulled it up. And who's going to buy that, he said. It deflated me. I remember just feeling deflated, you know, and like, I just felt deflated. I remember walking up Acre Lane that time.
I guess there's a lot of very different sounding reggae music in that period.
There was so much music out there, innit? Yeah, this was, I think it was about 1992 that time. 93, that sort of time. But for me, I was deflated. I had 500 records there, and that was the first stop. And the honest truth is, like, I didn't know what tomorrow was going to be, man. I felt so deflated with that. But thank God there's always been people that like my music, you know what I mean? You know, I went to Supertone, and Supertone were cool, you know what I mean? Supertone were cool, and they took some, you know, on SOR, and then there was a guy in Southall that time. I can't remember his name, but he had a record stall in a little market, you know. I went and checked him, and he took some. Yeah, really cool guy, you know, and he, I can't remember his name. Danny, his name was at that time. So that guy was wrong. Because
did you start hearing it on, like, the bigger sounds? Did you hear, like, Shaka play it? And
yeah. Well, the thing about it, that's why I say with ABBA, there's a whole story and journey with ABBA.
That's how I got introduced.
Yeah, because I linked up with ABBA about 1990 time, you know, and started giving him dubs, you know what I mean? You know, before that, the main sounds that were playing my tunes were, as I said, Jah Warrior, Trinity, Intebi, really, were the main three sounds. So I was hearing my tunes playing out there, you know what I'm saying? But ABBA was a different level, you know. He was, ABBA was like the first sound that extended the whole vibes of Shaka, in a sense.
And he was playing, basically, it was the old Jar Tubby's sound kind of modified, really. So he had the physical sound system as well in those days.
But ABBA now was the representation of us, our generation, in a sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because I'm in Leicester, you see.
Yeah.
And Abashanti is Leicester. That was my introduction to it.
Yeah, that's right.
Totally.
That's his inception.
Because like you're in London and you've got Music House and all these people, and we're in country, so it's like a different thing there.
Yeah, but Abba, was my personal connection now, and you know what I'm saying. His vibe was, he's a man who used to attend Shaka dances as well. You know what I mean? And we're all inspired by something or someone. All of us. There is no one born that is not inspired by. Our journey is inspiration from something or someone. You know what I mean?
He definitely seemed to come with because he had access to all the top producers at the time. So he was playing your music and playing like Dub Judy's music and playing Black and Meek's music and playing Dougie's music, and the selection was like.
And he just fitted that time. He just came through at a time when, in the 80s, that 80s decade was a very serious decade, because especially with Shaka, Shaka had his real potency, like in 70s and early 80s, and music started changing from Jamaica. Do you know what I mean? And it started moving the whole wave around, things just started to change, and
got the whole technology thing happening.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's like this the way we do music using computers and MIDI and blah 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 wasn't really possible at the beginning of that decade. But at the end, it was that revolution.
Yeah.
Because I was very much influenced by like dance music and stuff, because that was using all the same technology, and I that was a big thing in my area.
Yeah.
That taught me a lot of like technical stuff.
Well, the technology enabled a lot of us to start producing. Funny enough, because who could have a big drum kit and big bass stack in their yard and a big mixing console? You know what I mean? But with technology now, we all was able to have these little setups and start to learn. You know what I mean?
But looking back, is also just holding up on that kind of story of the evolution of it all. Is like Keety Roots is like a lyricist. Then where does that come from? Because that's what I think of you as well in terms of an artist, as a lyricist, and I love lyrics. I
think I've always been had a sort of depth to me, you know what I'm saying, spiritual depth and kind of social depth and awareness of things, you know what I mean.
And what about words though? Because you have this craft with the words.
I don't know. I think it's just I loved the writers. The records that I bought, it was the real writers, not the head top man, the writers, the arrangers. That's what I loved, like Pablo Moses, Delroy Williams, you know what I'm saying? Twinkle Brothers, you know what I mean? Like, these guys were writers, you know what I'm saying? So I was listening to their music, you know what I mean? I remember Twinkle Brothers, Since I Threw the Comb Away. My word. I mean, his ability to take words and make them profound.
Especially with...
That's why I learned the craft.
With words that people can understand on the street as well, but to deal with really quite complicated stuff. That's what fascinates me about music.
That's what well, this is the thing. Like with Pablo Moses, this is how I learned about how to manipulate words, innit? Because he would write profoundly. I remember he wrote a song about love, and he says, love is not something you just grab, and you can't put it into a bag. I mean, the way that he put it across, like, these things I just love it.
Like thought-provoking.
Yeah, because, his ability to explain the situation and the listener, to be able to understand it or go on a journey to try and understand it. But, not be too far away from what the meaning is,
Because there's like a discipline in writing a song, because you've got to fit it in just a couple of lines, and it's all, you can't just ramble. It's got to fit in
Well, funny enough, I've always been a good story writer. The one thing I loved in school was essays, writing essays and stuff like that. So it's something I had in me already. You know what I'm saying? I think I had that ability, already. I love art, you know what I mean? And I loved writing stories. You know what I'm saying? So when it came to writing songs, all these years, even in the 80s, I could write songs, but I couldn't sing. You know what I mean? I never saw myself even as a singer. I just was scared of that, man. I didn't want to even I had tenacity, voice of my tunes. I mean, I was always in awe of him and his power on that mic, Do you know what I'm saying? And for a time, for me, it was like a thing like, I wouldn't stand in front of a mic. Like, I know great people in front of mics. Like, that's what they do. I play and mix. You know what I'm saying? But the time came when I started to feel that vibe, to think, you know something, I maybe can do this, you know. I tried voicing a couple of tunes and realized it doesn't sound that bad enough. I realized I was able to put words together. You know what I mean?
Because that combination, like, of being able to build the rhythms, being able to write lyrics and sing them, it's quite rare to have all of those together, because there's certain people who've got, maybe they can write lyrics and sing, maybe they can build a studio, maybe they can build a rhythm and write words, but to do them all together.
But you see, I've had good mentorship. That's the right word to use. I've had good mentorship because I watched Tenor doing it and doing it well. I'm talking about and churning out song after song. I'm talking about. Sometimes we've recorded all night and we'd complete 6 projects. You know what I mean? Like, done, sealed. And so I've had good mentorship with that. I was listening to the prolific songwriters, and I was working with a damn good songwriter. So by the time I started putting pen to paper, the template was there, the direction, the approach I'd learned already. And
obviously, you still write now as well.
Yes,
like,
I do.
Like, you know, moving massively forward into like the sort of current period, then it's like things like the Reparations tune was a real big hit.
Yeah.
But like, it's not messing around with the lyrics as well.
No,
it's like it's serious on every level. The tune is, but it's also really successful as well.
Yeah, the one thing I understand about songwriting, putting pen to paper, and putting an energy out there, you've got an indictment on you to write something that makes sense and not to mislead people. I really believe that. You know what I'm saying? I put that on myself. You know, like. If I'm going to say something, let me say something that makes some kind of sense, that people can actually be uplifted by it or be educated by it. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't waste that. A bad or dreadful song is a waste of a song. You know what I'm saying? That's why I see it. Like, you've got the rare opportunity of having people that actually listen to what you have to say. So say something profound in your time. You know, and that's my thing.
How has the feedback been on putting a tune like that out and it doing well, as in terms of like it was a big hit, but also like the lyrical content being on the money as well? As it's like, what kind of feedback are you getting from people?
What I got from that tune is that truth resonates all through this earth. Like, we're all human beings. We're all human beings. We bleed the same. You know what I'm saying? We feel the same. We've got emotions manifested the same. We're all man. You know what I'm saying? So when profound truth is spoken, it touches people all over the world, isn't it? Because truth is truth. You know what I'm saying? You know, you don't have to be culturally connected to it to understand it. And that's what that tune taught me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was just really writing a piece of history. That's all I've really done. I've just documented a piece of history through a passage of time. But I just tried to do it as well as I could. You know what I mean? So people could get it and understand it.
Because it means quite a lot to me, because I nearly called my music project like Reparations. Right. But at the end of the day, I thought, I can't be a white guy, because it's too deep a thing. But the word, it's a great word, and what it's dealing with in terms of like in terms of the sort of legacy of like colonialisation and slavery.
Yes.
But also the idea that we should pay something back for things we messed up. There's a lot of powerful stuff in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
the whole thing of, excuse me.
So I guess it, like to educate a new gen, because there was always new people.
That's the thing.
Educate a new generation of people.
The thing is, as time goes on, the passage of time goes on, that's why it's important when we put pen to paper, we need to understand this, you know? Like, we become the custodians of the legacy of that movement, we could call it, liberation movement, you know what I mean? That's what Black Legacy is all about. I use the word indictment. this is the point. I used the word calling before. When you feel, those that are called, there's a feeling you have. No one's going to tell you you're called to do something. It's something you know, because you realize, hold on, I've got the energy to do this.
I've got to do this.
It's something, it's going to happen. You're compelled
even
to do
if
it.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
you want to do it. But
yeah. And don't matter the opposition, it's something you know in your life, you've got to do that. So for me, it's always been that. You know what I'm saying? And then I've had a calling to, I can put words together well. You know what I mean? I realize that, you know? So there's a burden, like, and an indictment to do it well and do it where you can educate people, uplift people, try to make some form of change or something, represent something that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like a responsibility. It's
like, you know?
Me and Madhu always call it like edutainment as well, because reggae music should be
that's
like, you know, people want to go out and enjoy it and dance and listen and stuff, but you need something for your mind and your soul as well.
And you see, this is the great thing that inspired me with roots reggae music, you know? You know, people like Burning Spear and greats, man. I mean, like, you know, greats, isn't it? Very entertaining, but very deep. I mean, when you're sitting in your yard and you're just chilling and listening, there's another experience again from the dance, because now it's about the lyrics now. Now it's about, it's about the beat and the bass and everything, but it's about what is he really saying now, isn't it? Because it's now a personal connection now.
Especially, like, you know, when more and more people, because back in the day, people didn't listen on headphones so much, and now your voice is seriously in people's heads now. Yeah, well, that's the other thing, you know, with technology, man, you're actually in the heads of people. You know what I mean? But I feel blessed. I feel fortunate. I feel blessed that I've got some type of gift that I can impart to people. And my thing is really to be, in a sense, the voice of the voiceless, you could say. You know, I'm coming from a people where we've been marginalized for centuries, like, and put to shut up, literally, and not have a voice. And I believe I've been blessed with, like, some type of gift that I've got some type of voice. You know what I'm saying? So I need to represent who never had a voice and who doesn't have a voice. You know what I mean? And now you can see how that has reached far and wide as well. Yeah. Because, like, when I think, you know, I was in Leicester, you were in London, but when we both started, you kind of sort of thinking a bit locally and stuff. Yeah, you do. Now, you do. If you look at the reggae scene now, it's global. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love it. The blessing is that, you know, through the gigs that we do and stuff, you know, people from all corners of the earth, you know what I mean? Like, nobody knew. I mean, even in the 80s, no one knew it would be a phenomenon of such size and depth. Nobody knew. Like, Channel 1 went to Nepal. I know you've been to some diverse places, man. I mean, it's amazing. But, I mean, where reggae music can take you. And in the summer, we were on the side of a mountain in the Alps. Yeah. The most beautiful place. Oh, my word. And then it's like, you know, the next week would have been somewhere else. Yeah. And these things were unimaginable when we were young. Unimaginable. Like, how would you ever know? You know? If someone said to you, you will be on that mountain side, and, you know, you'd say, really? You know, I think you need some sort of a pill. Playing on a sound system. Yeah. With people that obviously love what you're doing as well. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's an amazing thing where it's moved on to, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, because there's a vibes, there's like a truth in the energy of it all that is going to touch people anywhere. It's been proven. There's a realness about it. There's a beauty about it all, isn't it? That touches people and makes them feel good. I think, you know? As well, because like from the outside, it seems that you play out more now than maybe in the past, and travel more than maybe in the past. Yeah, I do. And I know I love to see how my music and the music I select had the effect directly has on people in the room. I enjoy that. And I don't know what you got to say about that. That's just the same. I mean, like I said, I've been working with sound systems over the years. Abashanti the most, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And going to other dances, but playing up myself, you know, and actually connecting with the people that buy the music is a profound thing.
It really is. So you do a tune and you actually see the response of people, not in one place. As you said, we could be in one country this week. The next week,
other side of the world.
And the same energy, and seeing the same energy, that's the beauty as well. Seeing the same energy, thousands of miles apart. I mean, there's something profound there. There's something great
and that's something that you didn't anticipate when you were younger.
You could never. I mean, you could never. For the black youth of the day in the 70s and 80s, that was our. Music is a vast thing. You got soul, dancehall, you got roots, you got everything. For me, I chose, I chose roots reggae music, Doughboys, And mainly, the main inspiration was Shaka. Because Shaka was, the way Shaka used to play and select, he had the answers to the issues. You understand that a lot of the black youth, it wasn't only Shaka, But Shaka was my chosen. There's many sounds, but it was my chosen forum, you could say. You know what I'm saying? And it just seemed to have answers. That's the point, really. You know what I'm saying? So if it had answers for us, and we didn't know that it would ever transcend past us. That was place and time for us. And this is our reality. And all of this crap going on, all this racism going on, and all of this confusion, social confusion, can't get a job, marginalization, disenfranchisement. The music had the answers. The music took away the anger. Sometimes we were, as you're angry when you can't move forward and you're not accepted in the society and stuff like. But the music gave us the answers. It calmed us down. It made us understand that, we keep our head together and look forward. You know what I'm saying? That's what it done for us. And if it done that for us, there are disenfranchised, marginalized people all over the world. So by natural progression, it was going to touch other people. There's poverty all over this world, isn't it? There's ghettos all over this world. And it was liberating for us, as poor black people, we can call it. When our parents come to this country, they weren't poor. There's a lot of middle-class people turned up here, mate. You know what I'm saying? But the social issues just rendered a lot of people into poverty.
Being born here is a different story, isn't
different story. There's so many issues. But the music was the answer. It kept a whole generation together, you could say, and it compressed the anguish and the anger. You know what I'm saying? And all these things, and that's the whole vibe. If it could have done it for us, it was going to do it for others. And it has. And that's the power and the might in it.
And you see that from your travels.
That's the thing. It's going to inspire. Yeah? Because we're fundamentally, we're of a kind, innit? Humankind, innit? And so we got the same, I don't care culturally, religiously where you hail from, but you're first of all a humankind, isn't it? And so what touches one man is going to touch the other. And if we haven't learned anything, we've learned that.
No, you put it very well, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring the podcast interview to a close now because we've gone on for a good hour talking about stuff, and that's the thing. It's with a story like yours, it's so deep and rich. We could literally talk forever.
We could,
But one thing I'm doing, which I was thinking about it last night. I don't know if it's actually the right question to ask people, but I'm trying to ask all of my guests the Book of Dub. We're going to open the Book of Dub, and your name's going to be there, and I'm going to write Keety Roots is going to be there. And what would you like to be next to that in terms of what do you see as something you've contributed, or just it's something you should be known for, or it's a tune or an event or anything like that?
Well, I think just a saying, really, and that saying would be Keety Roots, the voice of the voiceless. You know what I mean? I mean, everything else is just a byproduct of the whole cause and journey, you know what I mean? Which is to educate, uplift, inspire, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Keety, it's been a pleasure. So I wish you all the best. I'd love to spend the whole day just talking technical stuff, because before the interview we had some serious technical talks, but we tried to kind of. But it's great to talk to you about your life in music, definitely. Thank you.
It's so much to say, you know. As Bob Marley said, there's so much things to say, you know. Thanks for the opportunity to hear my voice and talk about my journey. I think for us to understand each other's journey is important, because then we realize that we're not alone. Sometimes we think we're alone in the trod that we trod in, you know? And then we realize that others have walked that same road.
Thanks for joining me in this first ever episode of the Life in Dub podcast. Please subscribe to the show wherever you pick up your podcasts. Visit the website www.lifeindub.com and feel free to email me at vibronics@gmail.com with comments and suggestions, anything about the show. So thanks again, and I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time for the next Life in Dub podcast.